guys, Kitty Has Claws here. How you guys doing? What we are going to be doing today, let me get this music back up and going. I think that's gonna be good. Yeah, I think so. What we're gonna be doing today, guys. Wait a minute, where is my music for this? Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, it's just barely on. What we're doing today, guys, is we're going to be doing a reading stream, and I'm kind of excited about this to try this out. And I couldn't think of a better book to start off with than The House of Camelot. If you guys don't know much about this book was written by Clifford, aka Miku's wife. And she has this beautiful way of writing that makes it an easy read, makes it fun to read, and you can tell that she has this passion and love for dragons. So we're gonna read through this a little bit and see what it's all about. So we're gonna start with chapter 1. And guys, if the volumes are too loud or not loud enough for music and stuff, please let me know, and I can change this stuff around for you too to make it, easier for you guys to hear. Chapter 1. I woke from a strange dream. I couldn't remember feeling a painful ache in my chest. Rubbing the sleep from my eyes, I realized what had pulled me up from the dream. The incessant peal of church bells coming from the nightstand beside my cheerfully annoying Happy Cat alarm clock. I scowled at the smartphone as it continued to ring, hoping the caller would drop dead, and knowing that I had to answer it. With a noisy grunt, I rumbled, "What?" "Well, good morning to you too, sunshine," Reinhardt twanged in his deep Texas accent. "You've got a job. Pack up and meet me at the House of Camelot, yesterday." "What's the order?" I asked to an empty line. Reinhardt isn't big on conversation. Figures. Hey, Erators. Erators, if you can let me know if the volumes are okay between the background music and me, that would be awesome. I know Malice is here, but he's on no audio right now. I may be a little extra soft. Alright, I'm turning that up a bit. Mainly because I'm not screaming into the mic as I usually do. Way up. Alright, is this a little bit better? A little bit better over here? Does that mean I have to turn up the background music too? Probably have to turn up background music. Just a little bit, so it's in the background. Yes, no. Alright, I'll let, if I need to change volumes, you guys can let me know. "So what's the order?" I asked to an empty line. Reinhardt isn't big on conversation. Figures. "Brian, call me Bubba Reinhardt, is my boss. Well, sort of. He's a mountain of a man in his late 40s with a serious dose of redneck to match. Born and raised in the piney woods of Jasper, Texas, Brian Reinhardt started his career in the military. He became a hero during the first raid that led to a new career handing orders to, as he likes to put it, snot-nosed brats that he couldn't piss in a diaper without making a mess. God, I love his redneck euphemisms. They're always so colorful. Rolling out of my nice comfy bed, I rushed to the shower and dress. Reinhardt wanted me to meet him at the House of Camelot, which is unusual. The last time I went to Camelot, my partner died. Ugh. I shook off the mental chill. Whatever job Reinhardt had, it would require my full attention. I never get called for the easy jobs. In fact, if I get the job, it's bad. They only call me so I can clean it up. You see, I'm a slayer, a dragon slayer to be specific. I've trained for over half of my life to slay dragons, and I'm good at it. So good that I usually get the rough jobs. But hey, I'm not complaining. If I can save even one life, then I'm happy to do it. I let my hair hang dry as I got dressed, racing into the kitchen for a quick breakfast, cold toast or pastries. Gotta love 'em. I greeted my guardian, Evelyn, a former sister of Avalon, a group devoted to the worship of the Lady of the Lake. Evelyn adopted me shortly after the first raid. She sat in the small, quaint kitchen sipping her coffee and thumbing through a magazine. Evelyn is young for someone to be raising a teenager, for she's only 31. Compared to Reinhardt's old fart status, that's like being a baby. She found me at age 6, alone, scared, and in the field hospital of the Sisters of Avalon, set up to where my father had left me. I don't know who my mother is, and I haven't seen my father since. He's probably dead. Evelyn petitioned to the Council of Excalibur for my custody and became my guardian. She has beautiful curly auburn hair that hangs around her shoulders and bright emerald green eyes that sparkle when she smiles. Evelyn smiled when she looked up at me like always. Was that Bubba? Well, who else would I get up this early for on a Saturday morning without killing them later, I quipped. I snagged the package of toaster pastries and the jug of milk, and before the plastic could even grace my lips, Evelyn said, "Don't drink out of the carton. It makes no difference to the world if you're going to hell if you have plenty of time to use a glass." I grumbled and pulled out a mug of the nearest cabinet. Sloshing some milk into it, I asked, "Are my new bracers ready?" "I'm not coming back to change, so I need to take all my gear." I wanted to do one less final fit test, but I suppose it can wait. Evelyn rose. "Do you know what the job is?" "Well, you know Reinhardt." I rinsed out the mug when I finished. He's such a chatterbox. I didn't even learn a thing. Evelyn chuckled and passed me the new set of lined leather braces. And then she kissed my cheek and murmured, "May the lady bless you and keep you safe, Guinevere." I'll call you as soon as I know how long I'm going to be gone. That way you can contact the school. I smiled at Evelyn. I'm hoping I'm going to miss the geometry test on Monday. I really need time to study. Evelyn laughed. "I'm sure there'll be time for that later. You best run along now. Bubba hates to be kept waiting." I grabbed my pack along with the new bracers and then hurried out the door. The sun caused me to squint as I left the shelter of the building. Deserted streets let me know that the alert status has been raised. I grew up in the aftermath of the first raid, so this is normal for me. But it does seem wrong that we should hide from them. Now when I say them, I'm talking about the dragons. 10 years ago, the Red Queen awakened from her slumber and unleashed a torrent of pent-up rage on the world. She brought with her a horde of other dragons, striking at major city centers. London, Paris, Tokyo, New York, DC, Beijing, Rome, Cairo, and countless other cities were decimated within hours. This is what we call the first raid. By the end of the week, the world fell into chaos. Few people can cope with such tremendous changes so quickly. They run, they hide, and they even kill. Many simply give up. It seemed as if the human race would be wiped from the face of the earth, but from the ashes came the Council of Excalibur. Excalibur for centuries fought a war with the Red Queen and her army. Created by the houses of the 12 great knights and blessed by the Lady of the Lake, the Council of Excalibur took charge. They brought the frightened masses under control and resurrected our cities, our homes, giving us purpose and, more importantly, hope. Dallas, Texas is my home now. It's not the same Dallas as it was 10 years ago. The streets are narrow and the homes are packed close together. We gave up our large yards and open spaces for safety. It's harder for a dragon to land if the buildings are tightly packed together. The rooftops are supposed to work like pigeon spikes, deterring a dragon from landing on them. Many of our outlying towns are empty, abandoned by the survivors of the first raid. In this area, Great Plain wireworms run rampant, making it completely unsafe to live outside the city limits. My workload is light, thanks to Reinhardt. Oh, there we go. Sorry, lost my spot. He keeps more experienced slayers than any other director in the world. The Council of Excalibur immediately began recruiting warriors to fight the Red Queen. They looked within the founding bloodlines of children with potential and special talents. The House of Camelot became a standard in every major city as a place for slayers to train and live. The House of Camelot gives people a sense of security. Now, I don't live at Camelot, and I don't train at Camelot. For most of the time, I stay the heck away from Camelot. Reinhardt gives me my orders via cell phone, and I live with Evelyn in our homey 2-bedroom apartment, and I like it that way. A lone patrol car cruised the neighborhood. The officer quickly stopped me. "There's a shelter-in-place order throughout the city, young lady." He leaned across the passenger seat to talk to me. "You should return to your home immediately." I smiled and fished my wallet from the duffel I carried. Leading into the window with the ID in my hand, I said, "Officer, I'm the last person you want talking. I'm the last person you want to be talking about shelter with right now." He scrutinized the ID and then me. "You need a ride somewhere, Slayer?" "If it's no trouble, I need to get to the House of Camelot." "Hop in, I'll take you right there." I thanked the officer as I climbed in. He saved me from having to use the gate key to get to Camelot. You see, gate keys are nifty little magic keys made from an assortment mix of metals and layered spells that transport a slayer to a predetermined destination. It's convenient, and it saves time. Normally, I would use my key to get to the House of Camelot quickly, but I hate dealing with the gatekeeper. His assignment by the Sisters of Avalon is to guard the space between the gates. The gatekeeper lives in this distorted space between them. Time is warped, so the gatekeeper ages very slowly because of it. And he does not like me. He also hates that I've been given a set of gate keys. Of course, I did punch him and called him a bigoted asshole, too. Could that be why he hates me so much? Nah. I stared out the window at the empty town. It shouldn't bother me. An unnerving feeling formed at the sight of the empty streets of my hometown. Having been a slayer for over 3 years, I've grown accustomed to the desolation of towns as people seek safety. This should be routine. My eyes turned skyward as a dark shadow passed overhead. "Has the sentry system picked up any activity?" I asked the officer. "The sentry system? This is a modified version of the technology used to track planes before the first raid. The system picks up any flying object before it gets close to the city. Whenever an object is detected, the authorities are notified, and a shelter-in-place order is issued, and the resident slayer is dispatched. For the dragons lacking the ability to fly, the cities rely on a series of perimeter alarms. There's only one way in and out of town, through the checkpoint. The system isn't foolproof, or would that be dragon-proof? But either way, it does prevent dragons from getting into the city. Most of what I hunt locally slips past the checkpoint with some ignorant individual who thinks dragons can make a good pet. Hello? Major predators do not make good pets, regardless of species. They eat your neighbors, your kids, and eventually you. No, the order came from Excalibur, the officer informed me. It was issued about an hour ago. That was around the time Reinhardt called me. Ooh, I got a sick feeling in my stomach. The shadow passed over a second time. Crap. A dragon slipped through the sentry system. "Pull over under the next overpass and let me out," I instructed the officer. "Then get away from me and this car as fast as you can. Stay low, and I might not chase you." The officer turned deathly pale. "I should report in." "Yeah." I began putting on my gear. "You probably should, and while you're at it, have someone contact Reinhardt to let him know I'm already on it." The officer blinked. "Do you mean Bubba Reinhardt?" "Yes, that's the man, and he's going to be wicked pissed when he finds out I've already started hunting." I slipped the scabbard of my short sword between my back and my seat and cinched up the strap tight. Nothing leaves a bruise like a loose sword. Gathering my bag in one hand, I looked to the officer. We're going to have less than a minute to get away from this car before it realizes we're not moving and comes after us. What should I do? Run to culvert, and if you can, crawl into it. I watch the shadow roll alongside us. It's a skylark, so it can't dig you up, and it can't spit fire either. But if it sees you running, it will chase you. They are super fast. He nodded his head vigorously before snatching his radio from the dash. I tightened the bracers after slipping my knives into their sheaths underneath them on my forearms. I caught a few pieces of the officer's conversation, but I really wasn't paying attention. In my mind, I ran through the hunt and subsequent kills. Skylarks are small, no bigger than a sedan or small truck, but they are quick. Unlike some dragons, the skylark's front limbs are actually its wings. They're like giant bats with razor-sharp teeth and a crocodilian snout. The best thing about a skylark is the soft spot between the crest of horns nestled in the back of the skull. Easy peasy, I purred, feeling my blood flow with endorphins, adrenaline, and excitement. Dispatch wants to know what house you're dealing with. Crap. Tell them Lancelot. Lancelot, the officer parroted, awed in his voice. The house Lancelot is well known. The house has very little to do with Lancelot du Lac of the Arthurian legends. According to Excalibur, Lancelot joined the house with the great knights when he slayed a red Welsh dragon. That made a full house of 12 knights. Now, normally, a slayer claims a house name that they descend from, but Lancelot is a lie created by Excalibur to hide who I really am. The officer relayed the message to his dispatcher while I shifted in my seat. I watched as the shadow of the skylark grew large and dark. He intended to attack before the car reached the overpass. Crap. Before grabbing the steering wheel and wrenching it hard to the right, "Floor it!" I bellowed, but the stupid officer panicked and slammed the brakes, bringing the car to a screeching halt. I didn't have time to shout or curse the man out. My priority became getting out of the car before the skylark grabbed it, or we both would die. I flung open the door just as the rear tires rose off the ground, pitching me into the dash. The awful squeal of metal, along with the wail of fear from the officer, annoyed the heck out of me. The door opened wide, but the ground dropped away. I dug a runestone from my bag. Pressing the stone against the officer's hand, I murmured, "Sleep." The officer slumped against his seatbelt, and I crammed the stone back into my pocket. Runestones are great little magic stones that the Sisters of Avalon's make for the Slayers. It takes a long time to make one stone, and they draw off the user's energy, but they come in really handy when you're wounded or need to knock someone out without hurting them. Glancing out the door, I realized the skylark carried the car towards a rooftop or some other high place to try and pick us out. That meant I needed to find a way to get it to put the car down gently. Dying in a twisted pile of metal with a sleeping Goofy is not on my to-do list. I considered talking to it. As you know, some dragons are interested in a quick meal, and if you offer them a fat cow, they'll leave you alone. But skylarks are stupid. Their brains are relatively small compared to their bodies, making intelligent reason impossible for them. I would have tried escaping the car with the officer and pray we didn't go splat on the ground below. The radio squawked to life, and while I struggled with the officer's seatbelt, "Lancelot, this is Reinhardt. We have arrived at your last location, but we have no visual. Do you have a copy?" "Yes, I have a copy for all is good." "It will do to me." I groused into the radio. "A skylark has slipped through the sentry system. It's latched into the squad car. The officer is out cold, and I'm trying to figure out how the heck I'm going to fight this stupid thing without getting anyone killed. Hi, guys." And thank you for that host, Pixie. You've been authorized by Excalibur to use any and all weapons at your disposal, including that. I balked. Really? Can I really use that? Yes, really. Reinhardt's smile carried into the clear in his voice. Make it quick. The wife's already complaining about this taking too damn long. See you in 5 minutes, old man. Make it 3, brat. I ain't got all day, and we still need to get to Camelot. I felt a surge of excitement. Excalibur removed all my restrictions, including the one over that. That is the inherited talent from my bloodline and house, the Curse of Elaine. Elaine, the most powerful of dragons during the time Excalibur formed, placed a curse of consumption on the knight Bellamore. Because of the crimes of some of his fellow knights, my ancestor, Bellamore, would become a martyr for those knights who pillaged and defiled the sacred resting place of the ancient dragon kings and queens in the name of wealth and fame. Elaine planned to destroy those dishonorable knights and their families, but Bellamore stepped forward, offering his life in place of theirs. Instead of killing him, Elaine placed a powerful curse on his body. The curse would consume all his humanity, leaving a dragon in its place. Apparently, I'm the only remaining descendant of the knight Bellamore, because I carry the proof of the curse over my heart. Thinking of the knight Bellamore and his mark made my chest ache. This is probably a setup by Excalibur. I hope that I will be consumed by the power of the curse. If I transform into a dragon, well, they will kill me and eliminate the last of the Bellamore's line along with the crimes of their ancestors. For no one likes to be reminded that they descend from the scoundrels and cheats. Excalibur is really good at getting rid of things that they don't like, and they definitely do not like me. Things would be much easier if there was a way to break the curse, but Bellamore went into hiding immediately after being cursed. Shortly thereafter, the other knights of Excalibur hunted him down and killed him before he could be consumed. Hello? You couldn't at least pass the information on how to break the stupid curse, oh great ancestors of mine? Great. Over time, the knights along with Bellamore faded into the myths and legends, leaving the truth obscured and impossible to find. Most of what I know comes from Evelyn. As a sister of Avalon, she is privileged to information about the different houses, including my own. The curse is part of the reason why Evelyn volunteered to become my guardian. Careful as I am, the curse will spread, and I will become a dragon. Evelyn knows this well and has assured me that when I do lose my humanity, I will not be allowed to hurt anyone. I trust Evelyn with that task. I have a few tricks up my sleeve that I do not share with the Council of Excalibur. One is that I can manipulate the mind of a dragon. It's not as if they're my puppets, and it's not anywhere close to what the Red Queen can do. It's more like a cheap parlor trick. I focus my attention inward, listening to the familiar din of the skylark's mind. I picked up the slightest hum, as though I was a radio tuning into a specific station. His thoughts were random, scattered, and confusing. I caught the first bits of fatigue in the skylark's mind. Man, this thing is heavy, I whispered into his jumbled thoughts. Maybe I should put it down. The skylark began to bank, sweeping low along the building's edge. I managed to identify the building as the Federal Credit Union. The tires of the squad car skipped over the roof, striking a central air unit and jarring me. The skylark's wings flared wide in preparation of landing when she interfered. I felt the Red Queen's hate as though a searing hot red poker was being driven into my brain. I snapped the connection to the skylark before she can turn that painful rage on me. Reaching across the officer, I popped a seatbelt and flung open the door. I shoved the sleeping officer out the car door and watched him roll a few times on the roof before the skylark began to rise again. Reinhardt, I managed to get the officer to safety, I said into the radio. He's on the roof of the credit union on Avenue K. You'll need to wake him with a runestone. 10-4. We'll get someone up there to get him. Reinhardt's voice started to break up. As the Skylark carried the car higher. What? You? That? Lark? I sighed and let the radio go. I thought about trying to manipulate the Skylark again, but the pounding of my head reminded me that the Red Queen's insane power could probably turn my feeble human brain into a cooked mush of goo. Instead, I slung the duffel over my shoulder and then scrambled out the front seat into the back. The rear window was broken. The safety membrane kept it from shattering into tiny pieces, but it still stuck to the frame. Contorting my body and bracing against the driver's seat, I lashed out with my feet, breaking it loose. Ugly and stupid, didn't even notice as I climbed out of the window and onto the trunk. Looking at his recurved claws embedded into the car, I wondered how to get out of this alive. So using his leg as a ladder, I drew up the strength and speed of a dragon that the curse allowed me to access. I climbed onto the Skylark's back, and the bony ridge that ran the length of his spine helped me to hold on to him as he twisted to the right. I watched the squad car fall from his grip, sending a silent prayer that it would not kill anyone when it hit the ground. Clinging desperately to the Skylark's back, I inched forward towards his head. He banked low, closer to the ground than I expected. I saw flashes of cars and people. He went after Reinhardt, the police, and the cleanup crew. The Skylark rose. It prepared to turn and then descended upon the gathering crews a second time. I unsheathed my short sword, coiled my legs underneath me, and waited for the Skylark to turn. Springing out of the air to where his head would be, I let out a guttural, animalistic cry. I felt the tip of my sword slip easily into the Skylark's flesh, finding that beautiful soft spot. I yanked hard to the right and then to the left, severing the spinal cord. With one harsh jerk, I scrambled the Skylark's brain, killing it. The ground rushed towards me. The wind tore at the falling beast with a howling frenzy that whipped my thick braid painfully around me. I closed my eyes, knowing the impact to be bad, if not fatal. So much for not going splat today. A warmth began in my chest and spread throughout my back. A gentle, soft caress, like the comforting touch of a mother, embraced me. A faint, kind voice murmured unintelligibly in my head, seconds before my back exploded in a fierce, terrible pain. I screamed as the pain tore my skin like claws. For a brief second, my eyes opened and I saw two spectacular, icy blue, almost white, leathery wings overlaid on the Skylark's wings. In the sun, they shimmered and rippled with subtle shifts of colors like a pearl. I barely found time to register their beauty before we hit the ground.